Have you ever wondered how your favorite beer is brewed? Well, sit back and let's embark on a journey through the artful process of beer brewing, a craft perfected over centuries by passionate brewmasters worldwide. Beer brewing is a marriage of science and art, where creativity meets precision. It's a process that involves a delicate balance of four basic ingredients: water, malted barley, hops, and yeast. Each ingredient plays a crucial role in the brewing process. Water, the primary component, sets the stage for the drama that unfolds. Malted barley provides the sugars that yeast will later convert into alcohol. Hops add that characteristic bitterness, balancing out the sweetness of the malt. And yeast? It's the magical microorganism that ferments the sugars into alcohol and carbon dioxide, giving beer its alcoholic content and fizzy nature. In the next few minutes, you will discover the fascinating process of how these four simple ingredients transform into the delicious beverage we all know and love. The first step in the brewing process is malting. Picture, if you will, barley grains, basking in a bath of water, soaking up moisture and beginning to sprout or germinate. This germination process is crucial because it kickstarts the creation of enzymes within the barley grains. These enzymes are the unsung heroes of brewing, as they will later convert the barley's starch into sugar. Once the barley has germinated, it's time to halt this process. This is done by drying and heating the barley in a kiln. The heat not only stops germination but also develops the flavors we associate with malt, from sweet and biscuity to dark and toasty. After kilning, the malted barley is crushed to expose the sugars within, ready for extraction in the next step. This malt provides the sugar that yeast will later turn into alcohol. So, in essence, malt is the soul of beer. Now that we've prepared our malt, it's time to move on to the next stage. The next phase in our brewing journey is mashing and lautering. This is where our malty foundation begins to transform into something truly beer-like. It all starts by mixing the malt with hot water. This combination activates enzymes in the malt which break down the starches into sugars. This creates a sweet, soupy mixture known as the mash. It's these sugars that will later be fermented by the yeast to produce alcohol. But before we get ahead of ourselves, we first need to separate this sweet liquid from the spent grain. This is where lautering comes in. Lautering is a fancy term for straining. We simply pass the mash through a sieve or a special lautering tun, leaving us with a clear, sugary liquid and a pile of spent grain. The liquid, now called wort, is the basis for our beer. With our sweet liquid called wort ready, we can proceed to the next step. Let's dive into the third step of brewing, boiling and hopping. Now that we have our wort from the mashing and lautering process, it's time to bring the heat. Boiling serves a few critical functions. It sterilizes the wort, ensuring no unwanted microorganisms spoil our beer. It also allows the proteins in the wort to coagulate, creating a clearer final product. But boiling isn't just about heat, it's also about hops. These little green flowers are the soul of beer, providing the bitterness that balances the sweetness of the malt. Hops are added at different times during the boil. Those added early contribute to bitterness, while hops added later bring aroma and flavor. So, there you have it. Boiling and hopping, a dance of heat and hops that transforms sweet wort into something closer to the beer we know and love. After boiling and hopping comes the magic of fermentation. Finally, we reach the fermentation and packaging stage. Here's where the magic happens. Our cooled wort is now ready to meet yeast, a microorganism with a monstrous appetite for sugars. As yeast is added to the wort, it starts to consume the sugars present, a process we call fermentation. As the yeast breaks down the sugars, it produces two key byproducts: alcohol, which gives beer its intoxicating effect, and carbon dioxide, which provides the fizzy sensation we all love. This process can take anywhere from a few days to a couple of weeks, depending on the type of beer being brewed. Once fermentation is complete, the beer is ready to be packaged. It's filled into bottles, cans, or kegs, depending on its final destination. Each packaging type has its own benefits, but that's a story for another day. And just like that, from four simple ingredients, we have beer. Next time you sip on your favorite brew, remember the journey it took to get to your glass.